another nice day today. Haven't heard back from the DJI yet, but this will be the moment of truth this week. Let's see if they actually give me the data or if they screw up and they'll say, okay, we're sending you back the drone or whatever. I was thinking too, I probably will upload that video of that crazy bus scenario from yesterday. Why not? Then you guys can see the type of crazy antics I see usually that doesn't make it into the regular vlog. Today should have been the last day as well for people to attend those Transport Canada live sessions to give in their inputs about the drone regulations. So with that all done and said, do people feel their voice has been heard? I mean, don't forget too, they said technically attending those sessions and all that doesn't count in terms of formal feedback. You still have to submit it to the email. It kind of got me to think to visit that Let's Talk Drones site to see what some people say about whether or not it's good or bad. And some of them I actually wanted to reply to it. I'll get to that a little later. I did read today how there was supposed to be this Drone World Expo, which I believe is more towards commercial drones, but I was still interested in seeing what it was all about to see what's the new tech. But I had such a hard time trying to find any news about it. Maybe the event isn't big enough for people to report it live, so hopefully we'll find out some other stuff in the next few days. And the other day some of you guys were mentioning about DJI and the privacy for the drone data. I was actually reading how they released that local data mode apparently. The one that's supposed to stop the thing from going to the internet, I guess to keep track of where you're flying and all that. And the theory is they said that because of the US military, for example, saying stop using DJI products, although they say otherwise. From what I read, it's actually not available for the normal applications, like for the consumer users. It says it's available for the DJI Crystal Sky monitors and some Android tablets. I'm actually curious if using this local data mode actually stops everything, like the GPS tracking. Like how would that work, for example, for things like they return home? Would it hinder the performance? It'd be kind of interesting to see how that turns out. Although I couldn't find anything on that drone expo, I did read this. It was about autonomous cars. I'm actually fascinated to see how the tech grows. And it says here something about, I guess, Google is kind of suing Uber because they're saying one of the ex-employees in Google gave them all this private email information, which I suppose the accusation is all that information they used internally is what Uber used, I guess, to get some kind of competitive advantage in terms of trying to release autonomous cars on the road. You know, apparently there was over 50,000 emails, but one of the scary thing is, if I read this correctly, this is one of the proof they're using, I guess, to show the guy had, you know, bad intentions, is they apparently have the guy's search history or something like that, where you can see them typing things like, for example, how do you delete a hard drive or something like that. Well, that's just an example of how much data there is of a person out there. And again, like with the DJI thing, like, do you care about stuff like that? Now, as you know, just the other day, there was all that crazy news about the Las Vegas shooting, and I wouldn't be surprised, like I said in my mind, if something drone related came up where someone says I could have used it for, I guess, a benefit in the situation, and one of them did come up. It says, why some Las Vegas mass shooting proves LA law enforcement should use drones. At first I was thinking this might be a little bit too sensitive, using that situation as an opportunity to say something like that. You might remember this was the controversy in the US where people didn't want police officers to use drones because they think it'll turn into other bad stuff in the future. But it says here, as law enforcement continue to gather evidence in Sunday's mass shooting in Las Vegas, a terrorism expert said Monday the use of drones could assist local police in gathering real-time information if similar shooting were to occur in Los Angeles. So it says, quote, think how useful a drone might have been if we have situations like this now for large events. You have a guy on the 32nd floor, a drone could have provided real-time intelligence and surveillance to what's going on. Kind of a sensitive time to talk about something like that, but you know, it makes sense in many ways. Funny enough, the thing I was thinking though, if I was in that situation, I had a drone and I heard gunshots, how would anybody, like an authority or regular people, react if me as a regular civilian use my drone to try to see what is going on? Like, would you still say no, like keep it down? Like in this case, they said you could get, you know, useful information, so would a civilian be able to get it? Or would you still say no, keep it in the ground because it's, quote, too dangerous? The videos I've seen, most of the useful content came from regular users capturing them on their phones and stuff. So it makes me think how beneficial it could be if regular people could use them in an everyday way. I'm still in the mindset, for here in Canada at least, for all the doom and gloom naysayers, like this is why you should ban drones and all that. If the regulations are really ridiculous, I still think you're actually doing more harm because more people can actually use them for good versus people using them for bad, in my opinion. These ones?
Well, no, the ones we had were, we tried a course thread.
Okay.
So not only do I need another one, 516.
So with pretty much the public sessions over, I guess it's a matter of now everybody submitting in their feedbacks, and it kind of makes me wonder what's kind of the argument so far, I guess, from people who are really in favor of everything, like say the registration and the insurance and all that. But like, what is the common theme that people are using as the reason to say, hey, it's great? And I was reading this one here. This guy, apparently the way he's justifying things like the drone insurance, even though a lot of people like myself would say that's just too expensive for people who are flying it for fun, they're justifying it by saying things like, hey, even drivers, for example, a 16-year-old has to pay things like, I don't know, like a license and all that. So if they can afford it, then you guys could too. It writes here, well, there are many young people, including 16-year-olds, who can afford car insurance for one reason. They want to drive. If you want to do something bad enough, you will find a way to be responsible and buy insurance. $800 insurance a year equals 59 hours of work, slightly more than 1 hour per week. And within 1 year, that will change so to 53 hours of work, minimum wage. If someone can't afford insurance, how will they afford the cost of damage to property or to a person? What if an uninsured drone falls on a baby or a small child? What if it lands on an expensive car? In my personal opinion, this is just really inaccurate in so many ways. For example, people who fly drones don't necessarily use it for work or transportation, especially people who fly it for fun, for example. People who fly drones, for example, like recreational ones like me, for example, we don't use it to fly things from place to place. We don't go into, for example, an airport, so why are we treated as if we're using it as a means of transportation? So in that sense, it's kind of flawed in terms of the logic. Plus, think about it, a 250-gram drone with paying $800 a year for insurance, does that make sense for someone flying it for fun? It doesn't, does it? The logic of if you want to do it, then pay for it. I mean, how about this, for example? Kid riding a bicycle on the sidewalk. You're telling me, for example, he should buy insurance just like a regular car driver? How does that make sense? It doesn't. I mean, if you're driving a motorcycle on the road, for example, okay, big difference, I can see that. But there has to be a clear, distinct difference in terms of what people are using. I mean, you could argue they're like, well, same thing. The guy on the bike runs into a guy in the car. It can create the same type of damage as a motorcycle. So they should be treated the same. Should they? I mean, that doesn't make sense in terms of the argument here, like with the drones. And one funny thing about the assurance and the what if, since everyone always says, well, what if the drone hits an airplane? Do you think that insurance is going to cover if someone hits an airplane? I don't think so personally. So that's why I think people need to think about something. They say, yeah, it makes sense for insurance. I mean, think of how people are using it. Come on, Canada. I feel like we're in the Stone Age or something like that. Like where people, if they're using the internet, they'll say something like, yeah, everyone should be registered. You have like a security clearance and everything like that. If you ever want to use the internet to be safe, you have to be in a public library with government, I don't know, authorities checking you out.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Alright, time to fix some stuff, I guess.
Yeah. So.
Wow, this cat's really like, I don't know.
Oh, he's such a suck for the camera. Aren't
Really?
you, boy? When he was a kitten, I was thinking of nicknaming him Bigfoot.
Really?
So every time I tried to take a picture of him,
Yeah.
he'd move and make it out of focus.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I could not get a clean shot on him.
Well, I got a clean shot of that one. Ooh. The vlogging cat. Whoa. Whoa. What's going on there? Here? That's the way you're telling me there's food there? This?
Yeah. Open it up. There's a bin with some dry food in it.
Yeah.
Pull that bin down, please.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Their bowls are empty. They're hungry.
Holy. This one?
Yeah.
What would you guys think that is just by looking at the back of the bottle?
Yeah.
Apparently that's just juice. Wow, it's so fancy.
I'd like to point out for anybody at home watching, please pardon the mess. I've been living like a bachelor because my wife was on vacation.
Excuses.
Yeah, he does that like all the time.
Holy smoke. Alright, time to say goodbye to the cats.
Oh, you missed to do this.
Ooh, I got late. See you guys later.